Beautiful people, welcome back. It's underscore Gintu back again to the roots of fish farming today. And here I am at my fish ponds today at my site and making sure that today what is just down here, you can just say it's called manure. I want to make sure that I am dispersing it onto the entire fish ponds. I have 3 fish ponds onto this site, and I want to make sure that it is dispersed. Or you can just talk about it is going to be thrown onto the fish ponds today, so as it can bring much of the nutrients relevant for the growth of the algae concentration, and also phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. Much of them are onto this decomposing manure today. And I have my wheelbarrow here. I'm making sure that every fish pond gets 5 wheelbarrows per day. And I will just do that entire this pickup. You know, guys, last time I brought here much of this kind of the manure, so as I can use it in putting to the fish ponds. I'll be giving you more of the respondents on why are we using manure, why couldn't I use the concentrate fertilizer, and why am I not now this time around not using chime. As everything is going to be discussed and to this video, as everything is more possible coming out from this segment. Everything is more compalatable, everything is more straightforward. Today there's no harm, there's nothing gonna be happening. We are here entirely to say that we have to groove together. Forgone is forgone. I'm very sorry for who I've just wronged. Let's keep vibing, let's keep in tuned, so as I can give you this vibe of today, coming one-on-one live from my fish ponds. It's underscore Gintu back again. Let's go, keep it watch, keep it in, so as we can rhyme with this video. Today is one-on-one. And this is a helter-skelter work, one-man army in the system. Today, everything is more lit, more compalatable, more coming, more in. Fantastic, guys. Now I'm moving with my wheelbarrow. It's now full, and I'm starting with one of the fish ponds that are around this segment, as I'm just walking helter-skelter to make sure that I'm throwing in. Beautiful people, everything is so awesome, as you can now see, as I'm using my wheelbarrow to make sure that I'm transferring this kind of the manure from this position, and I will be throwing them. I have a spade here that I'm using to scoop them and put them onto the wheelbarrow, and also scoop them from the wheelbarrow, putting them to the fish ponds today. And And to this near fish pond, guys, I will not use a wheelbarrow. I'll just use my spade, as I'll just scoop it, then I'll just throw it here rampantly. And everything is so awesome. Keep it in touch, keep it locked, because everything is aligned up for you, and it's coming straight forward from my fish farm, as you will be learning on why everything is systematic. Why am I scooping and throwing it direct to the fish pond? Why am I not using the bags here? And I'm just going to detail much about how you will do your own system, regardless of the place you are and regardless of what you have onto your hands. Guys, as I am just doing some work here, I'll just give you more of why are we just throwing such kind of the manure onto the fish ponds like that way. It is because of we have 5 positive impacts why we are throwing such kind of the manure onto the fish pond. 1, manure has the nutrients that are more relevant for the growth of crops. So if it has more relevant nutrients for the growth of crops, so it means that it has the nutrients that can help in the growth of algae. The algae is the green bloom or the green turbidity that is always available onto the water surface, and that's why much of the times you see water is somehow greenish in color. So that is the green bloom or the green turbidity that is always available onto the water surface of the fish ponds. So whenever you throw such kind of them, so it's gonna be making sure that it's enrich water with nutrients that will govern the growth of the algae. That is a balanced diet to the tilapia fish, because I always rear tilapia fish, which is red, bright red tilapia, which have the red fins. And whenever now you have subjected them onto here, the growth of algae will constantly, after 7 days, it's going to be starting now decomposing and decaying at the bottom level of this fish pond, whereby releasing the nutrients that will be used with the algae concentration of at the pond. And also we have the limiting factors, as you can just use much of this kind of fertilizer onto all the manure whenever you throw it here. Whenever it's in excess, now you'll have a high concentration of the bloom or high concentration of turbidity in water, which is the green turbidity, which is now relevant to as you shall have much concentration of algae onto the fish pond, which will be sometimes it has a negative impact to the farmers, as you can just know that much of night time we have oxygen concentration onto the water, and assumption of the oxygen onto the water will be just limited via night time. We have algae taking oxygen in as it's part of the trees, which is the non-green, but I think is a green but non-flowering. So whenever now you throw it here, it will consume much of the oxygen during the night. And also we have some small organisms called zooplanktons. So they might be happening here, and also other type of phytoplanktons that might be growing into the fish pond. So it might limit the oxygen concentration at the water, so lowering the more oxygen depending with the fish that they have to consume. So it will bring much of lack of oxygen, whereby some fish we shall have much of the stress from water, and some will depend on the source, where, you know, sometimes whenever you find a fish concentrated at the main source where water is coming from, or you have an inlet, it means that there is a low oxygen concentration at that pond. And also that was the first point, enriching water with nutrients relevant for the growth of algae. So the second point about using this manure, you know how the entire ecosystem looks like. It means that we have other animals which are called predators that might hinder they might be a challenge to you as predators. You know, a predator, it's not a must that it's affecting the fish. Even a predator affects the person who are working at the pond. So like something like snakes, they're predators, and whenever they're just around, whenever you use this kind of manure, which is produced via the animal waste, so the cow dung, so it means that the scent that's produced with this cow dung, which is now has decomposed to manure, they don't have, they cannot go hand in hand with some serpents. So it means that there's no snakes can just loiter around. And if you have a little bush there, you can even throw some animal waste, which is cow dung, to that area if you are affected much with snakes, and they will disappear with an immediate effect. If you want to confirm it, go and ask people who rear or rear some animals at their home, like cows, and whenever they are just sleeping at that zone, they are just sleeping, you'll never find even a snake some 10 meters away from that position, because that area, that scent produced via the animal waste, which is the cow dung, it doesn't go hand in hand with some serpents. So the second point is it chases away the snakes, which are predators that might hinder even. We have some snakes that goes into water, and some are out of water. So whenever they're inside water, they can eat the fingerlings that you might bring as a stocking here. Then you just find that, oh, I stocked my fish. Then at the long last, whenever now they're growing, you see, why are they so small? Why are they not so many as I thought? So you might find you have some of the predators inside the pond. And also the third point is whenever you have, like right now here, as I have this manure here, I'll make sure that this place, which is not weeded onto this position, I can make nursery beds and also seed beds, and I can plant some green vegetables and something like that as a kitchen garden and something like that. So this water, I can, whenever it's now enriched with the nutrients relevant for the growth of the algae concentration or the algae onto the water, it means that you can use that water to irrigate your nursery beds and seed beds whenever you have a shortage of water onto that. So it's very useful to the farmer if you are just practicing much of the things around. And also the fourth point is whenever now I throw this manure inside here, it means that it's gonna be turning water into green. This turning water into green, you have ever seen much of the fish ponds are green. So whenever now it turns water into green, it means that it limits much of the predators not to see direct onto the fish pond and to the bottom, because whenever you don't use such kind of the manures, or you can just use the wet cow dung, you can just use the manure, you can use fertilizer, which is the commercial fertilizer, and also you can just use the chime. So those four agents, they can turn water into green, but it will now depend on how decomposition will just happen onto the water level. And as far as now I'm talking about this kind of turning water into green, as I'm throwing it here, you know, it will go and sit at the bottom, then it will decay and decompose and help the growth of algae. So that algae, it's the green bloom or the green turbidity, it opaquelize. If you have such kind of the kingbirds, we have marabou stock, we have herons, they can just come here and take some fish from your fish pond. It means that whenever you use this kind of the manure and water turns into green turbidity, they cannot see at the fish pond where what is just inside. So this green turbidity will create a barrier between the fish that you are stocking onto the fish pond and the predators that are over view and they can just see at the water. That is the fourth point. And also the fifth point is one, whenever we have such kind of the manure, it is decomposed, so it has some organisms that are about which help in synthesis and also decomposition of manure. So whenever we have such kind of the organisms, and some are so big like the beetles, we have another type of such kind of the stuffs. I saw it some days and it's crawled. I don't know what's the name. It's like a beetle there. So whenever you throw them here and you have some fish here, they will help in terms of oxygen, and also they will decompose if they are dead. And some act as food to the fish that you might be having there. If you have big fish, it means that those kind of the animals, they can be subjected to water, they will be food for the fish. So we have those 5 positive impact of using such kind of the manure, so as you can make things move. And also much of the people are talking about why are you using manure only? I've talked about we have 4 agents of enriching water with fertilization, which is this I'm doing, it's called fertilization in fish farming, and much of the people know fertilization, but fertilization is enriching. Most of the people might be challenged. What is fertilization? How can you fertilize water? So this is enriching water with nutrients relevant for the growth of phytoplanktons and zooplanktons that will encourage the growth of the fish as they are uptaken as food. Because I've talked about algae is mostly of a balanced diet, but you cannot depend on itself because it has a low balanced diet, and if you subject the fish there, which is it has some algae, they will grow but of a small pace, very small pace, and also some they might be in a dwarf size, and they will grow for a longer period of time, so as you can just harvest. So that's why we subject other commercial feeds and extra feeds to them, so as they can boost the growth rate very compatible. So another point of not using let me put this camera now this way, guys. Exactly. So the other point of using this kind of the manure is about we are not using much of them, because guys, now depends with the person who is at the fish farm. You know, we have people who have intensive care. We have people who are at the middle, the low age, the middle, the low. We have the middle and the upper people. So the low people, mostly they have to use water is can be achievable via them. Use the local material around you to sustain your sustainability, which means that if you know that you cannot afford a commercial fertilizer and you cannot afford manure, or you have the wet cow dung, so it means that you can just use the wet cow dung, but with most care. Let me talk about this. For me, I want to have fish that I want to export them outside of Kenya. So it means that they will come and gauge the soil fertility of that area, the water pH and the soil pH, and they'll gauge which kind of feeds I'm just using. They'll gauge which kind of fish are you rearing, which company do you buy from, how the history of that they are. So even fish, we have tilapia fish, but of different species. So now differs with which species have you reared. And also, they will just uptake which kind of the fertilization protocols did you take. Which kind of fertilizer did you use? So even it now depends with their market demand. That's what I'm talking about. And also whenever I talk about the market demand, for the local farmers, like I am a local farmer outside here, I have my market demand that my fish, they should reach 300 grams. For the 300 grams, that one is more favorable for the hotels and much institutions sometimes, because you have teachers, sometimes they buy. But the middle stage, or the local farmers, even we have local farmers, but their market demand is a little bit at the middle stage and the upper stage. So now, depending with the size and the quality of your fish you have just produced from your fish ponds. So like now here, I have a fish pond. All of them, there are 3. We have 1, 2, and 3. It's just here. It means that the fish ponds are 320 meters square. So if they are 320 meters square, it means that if you want to rear some fish to an extent of 300 grams, it means that you will now calculate 3 fish per meter square. 3 fish per meter square. What does it dictate? For the 300 meter square, it means that you have to stock 1,000. If you want the size to be 300 meter, if you want the size of the fish to be 300 grams, you have to stock here 1,000 fish. You can calculate 300 per meter square. What about 300 meter square of the fish pond? It is 1,000 fish to be stocked here. So if you want your fish to be more than 450 grams, so you will calculate how many do you want to stock per meter square? 3, 2. So now it will depend on the size. If you want the bigger size, like I want 1 kg, I'll have this pond. I should stock this pond with less fish, so as they can get the space. You know, even the space which is called the environment, that they are just standing from one point to another, it facilitates the high growth of the fish, and also good oxygen concentration at the pond, because they will not have much competition. And also it will now depend on which type of fish, because much of the times we use monosex, which is the male tilapia only. We call them monosex. We cannot call them male tilapia, because these people, whenever they have the brood stock and have selected a good brood stock, then they want to brood them and get some eggs. Then whenever they excavate some eggs from their mouth, which is mouth feed, they are called mouth breathers, which are the tilapia fish, they take them to, it's called a hatchery. Then whenever now they hatch, after like 3 to 4 days, whenever they hatch those eggs, now they start, the feeds that they introduce to this kind of the small fingerlings is always combined with a hormone called methyl. It's like 7-methyltestosterone hormone, which turns female into male, but of a percentage. Not even that it's 100% that it will turn female to male. So that's why we go, whenever you want to buy some fish from them, they tell you that my fish produce, or my hatchery, depending on how I'm just harvesting some fish, or how I'm just rearing some fish, or how am I hatching some fish here, I will give you fish which are monosex, but of a percentage of 3 to 1, male is 3, female is 1, or at a percentage of a ratio of 5 to 2, which is 5 male and 2 is female. So it will now depend with which company are you just entrusting, so as you can just take some fish from them. So that one will determine, and also that's why we shall have much of the people who have knowledge in terms of field, so as they can gauge and tell you how many fish you can just stock onto your fish pond, and how do you want them to grow, and which kind of feeds do you want to use. Because right now in Kenya we have in frustration of prices of much commodities, and also the foodstuffs, you know. So in Kenya, much of the times, right now, even if you want to buy like fish feeds, it's so expensive. 1 kg can go up to 220, even 300 shillings per 1 kg. And you want to feed more than 1,000 fish, you can just be having. So it will now depend on if you want to rear fish the whole cycle, it means that you should have 375 kgs of the feeds, so as you can finish the whole cycle of 6 months of rearing some fish. So you can now calculate 375 kgs, and it's like 25 bucks by 37. Let me calculate that, guys. I have to make calculations here. You have to use, if you are using 35, it's 25 kgs per bags. You know, much of the times they are put in 25 kgs. They are whenever they are getting the feeds, they are packaged in 25 kg bags. So we can just calculate for the whole cycle, like one fish pond having 1,000 fish, you should use 25 kgs bags, 37 of them. So let me calculate. It is 37 bags times 25. So it means that you will use 925 kgs of 925 kgs of feeds to feed the entire cycle, which is 6 months. So let me subject it into this. 925 times 200. Let's put 200. So it means that for the whole cycle system of the fish pond, if it's international fish you are hatching, or you want to rear some fish with an high quality of like up to 1 kg fish, so you'll use how much? Let me check. Look at this. It is you can just check it. It is 185,000 shillings to purchase such kind of the feeds. For the local farmers, like the small farmers like us outside here, we cannot achieve that. So we go for the local materials that are around us. Like you can just go and buy, because we are at the border here, Kenya and Tanzania. So you can just go to Tanzania, because much of the commodities are low, and such kind of the fish products, they are very low in Tanzania. So, but it's not mixed. You go and buy, then you mix on yourself. But that one, you have to be so challenging because of the ratio. You might be putting much of the lime, which is needed in low quantity, and you can just put it in a high quantity. Maybe it's cheaper, and you see that, let me put this in a high quantity. So that's what's challenging the farmers outside here, and that's why we are rushing to Tanzania and get some of the commodities. Like you can just go and buy sardines in Tanzania. They're so cheap than Kenya. We can have the dust produced by the sardines, and also we have they have cotton seed cake there. They have maize chaffs, and also they have soya. They have cotton itself. They have what about green grams. They have much of the ingredients. You can just use and mix them, then you can just give your fish. But it's so expensive sometimes. It's not that it's a little bit cheaper than the concentrate ones that have been produced by the companies and being sold. And some people talk about my feeds are they have up to crude protein of 25, 28, 32. So it's now depend. Like right now, it's a winter time here. It's very cold right now. So if you have some fish and you want to feed them, it's like chicken. Right now, the laying of eggs, it's very low. Even the fish in such kind of the conditions, they have reluctant time during this kind of the windy season, which is the cold season. So for you should have much of the crude protein produce of your feeds. So you can never know which kind of the local feeds you are using has much of the crude proteins we are talking about, because we feed them according to FCR. And for you to calculate the FCR, you should know which ingredients you have and how are they packaged, how are they rationed. So that is the biggest challenge sometimes farmers pass through outside here. And also we can talk about that one I've just talked about. You want to produce 1 kg of fish. But if you have 1 kg of fish, it means that 1 kg of fish will just sell it up to 1,000 shillings. Or yeah, we can just sell it up to 1,000 shillings, up to 2,000 shillings one. So if you have 1 kg of a fish and you have 1,000 of them, and you have just sold them at 1,500 or 2,000 per each, so it means that you will have much of the money. Exactly. So as much of if you can just sell it even 1,000 shillings, that 1 kg. But where is that market here? You have to go for international markets, because no one can afford to buy in the local the 1 kg. So if you produce that 1 kg, it means that you have to look for a better market which is going to buy your fish, and they buy in terms of tons. So if you are sure that this fish is 1 kg each, and I have like 3 ponds here, it means that I'll produce 3 tons of fish from this fish ponds here. And you cannot stock 1,000. That's why I talked about the size of the pond even matters. I cannot produce 1,000 from this fish pond, fish over 1 kg. That is impossible. You have to, if this is 300 meters square, you want to stock some fish, it means that if you want 1 kg, you will stock like 750 or 500. So as you can attain or ascertain yourself that you will produce a 1 kg of fish. But if you want 300 grams and below, you will stock 1,000 because of the size of the fish you want to rear. So that are the hints that everyone should follow, and make sure that you are rearing some fish. I was talking about why are we not using the commercial fertilizer. Sometimes like now we have you can just use DAP, ammonium phosphate, and you have to dilute it in water and sprinkle here with the water can all around the fish pond. And it's not much. You can just use only 6 kgs of DAP in 1 fish pond, and it will now act. So that whenever you dilute it in water, then you sprinkle it around. It means that it's going to dilute the other water into the fish pond, and it will create a barrier that will now settle at the ground and decompose there and bring out the phytoplanktons and zooplanktons that are dependent on water and depend on such kind of the fertilizers. And about me using such kind of the sacks, I have some sacks here. I will put some of this manure in, or if you want to use, it's not a must that it's this manure, you can package onto this kind of the bags, but we have something called the wet cow dung. If you cannot subject it direct into fish pond because we have this kind of barriers. I've ever been using that for the several years ago, but I came to a conclusion that it is not a must you subject it direct, because that cow dung, it has much of the live organisms that might be a threat, or the cow was sick, you can never know. Whenever you subject those kind of the wet cow dung onto the fish pond, it will detonate, and it will might bring some harm to the fish that might be there, because everyone want to rear fish with our standard. So for you not to subject it direct, you can just put that wet cow dung, if you don't have manure, onto such kind of the bags. Then you can hang it using a peg. You just use a peg around your fish pond. You kick it outside of the fish pond, which is a dike. Then insert that bag that has the wet cow dung inside the fish pond, so as it can do what? It can now release slowly. It can decompose to that bag. Make sure that water is coming and bumping onto it, the bag, so as whenever it bumps there, it goes in, it neutralizes that cow dung. Then it will be releasing using the bag, because it has some spores, that the bag has some small holes that will be releasing a little by a little, and at a range of like 1 month, 2 months, the full bag like this one here should be finished, and water has swept it out, and that nutrient, it will be diluting water slowly by slowly. So it means that that is the good mean, as it will be just producing it small. And also whenever you have much of fertilization onto your pond, it means that you can determine the turbidity of your turbidity of water, which is the green bloom or the green turbidity of your fish pond. You can just use a tool called a sec disc, or you can just use an arm of yours. You can just insert the arm of your hand into the fish pond. Whenever it gets to 15 centimeters, 15 centimeters, it's like from where I have this kind of a stuff here, from here up to here, it's a 15 centimeter. If you can insert that into water, then you can see the bottom of your fingers. It means that water, it's not enriched with a high bloom or high concentration of the talk about high concentration of algae. And if you insert it, and it will be somehow opaque, but you can see it transparently because a little bit, it's translucent. I think it's translucent. You can see it a little bit. That it means that now that fish pond has a good quality of the green bloom or the green turbidity. But if you insert your hand, you will never see it completely. It means that you have a high, that water is highly enriched with the vitamins or nutrients that it has facilitated the high growth of the algae, and it will bring chaos onto your fish because of depending on oxygen during the night session. So those ones now are the limiting factors that a small farmer has to know, because those are what are just looked before you just subject yourself. And also, these international people who are always purchasing fish, they have one thing that they have to come and analyze. Which kind of fertilization did you use? Because it's the most thing that whenever you have dried up or you have harvested your fish pond, then you release water outside. Whenever you release water outside, it means that now your fish ponds are empty. They don't have anything onto the fish pond. Make sure that you make some rehabilitation of the pond. Then make sure that you apply what's called lime or calcium oxide that will kill all the organisms, all the it's called zooplanktons that might be happening or might be ascertained onto the fish pond, because you have harvested already. And there are some organisms you can never check them direct with your bare hands, but whenever you apply calcium oxide as an agent of killing everything that might be happening there, like the tadpoles, like the wild fish that might be there, we have any other zooplanktons that might be happening there, it will kill everything. Then you close the fish pond where you just opened it, so as water can accumulate a little bit, like 30 centimeters. Then release that water. It has now that calcium oxide. Then put another close the pathway. Then water accumulates again up to like 60 centimeters to 75. Then release it again. Then make sure that you seal now completely. Now, like right now, I have sealed completely. Now I have water, and water is now full of the pond. It means that now I can start my fertilization. And fertilization can take up to 7 days. Now water will be turning into green. I'll be showing you more about what is coming out from this farm of fish farming, and how I'll be encouraging you. If you want to start up such kind of a project, it means that you have to determine yourself and focus on what you want to do. As much of the things are aligned up for you, keep it in touch, keep it in, because I'm going to give you much of the respondent on how are we going to do this, and at what minimum time can you use. Because I've talked about fertilization, I can just use, I can apply this kind of, right now I can use 5 wheelbarrows of the manure to throw them here, but after every 1 month I can just apply like 2 wheelbarrows at each pond, like after every 1 month. So I'll be applying like twice per month, and it will be more effective, because I don't want to have much of a high concentration of the algae or high concentration of the bloom green, which is the green turbidity. So guys, I'll be updating you as I'm going to be in touch with you, much from the fish farming, much from the chicken farming, much from the farms, much from the animal husbandry, because everything is catered unto my position. So guys, that's how things are running onto this position. And right now, for the people who are just now new to this channel, I really appreciate and say thank you very much for you watching until you have just reached onto this position right now. And I can just tell you, I have 3 fish ponds here, and they're so large and so big enough for, and they are, one is 320 meters square, and the other 2 are 300 meters square exactly. And I have pond 1, pond 2, and pond 3. From your comment section, I'll be just getting much of this. How can I name them? Is it good to name them pond 1, pond 2, and pond 3? Or I can just name them, or I want people from the first comment section that will be there. I'll be naming the first ponds for the first 5 people who are there. Give me the names. I can just name them. By now it's pond 1, pond 2, and pond 3. And even to the chicken, I'll be getting a name to the chicken farming, and also which is the poultry, and I'm going to extend much of the poultry at my home. And here guys, I come to an end of saying that everything is very, very much appreciated wherever you are, and we are doing much things outside here. And even this fish pond right now, you can see it's now turning into black a little bit, and this blackish now, it's the manure, because manure is somehow black. So it's going to turn into green very, very soon, because I depend on fertilization so as I can protect my fish from other harms. And guys, this area we have for the first people who are now checking in and see what Gintu is producing here. It's 3 ponds here, guys. I have just checked them. So big enough. Look at this. So big. So you can rear up to, if you want 1,000, I much rear up to 1,000 fish, which is now producing them unto 300 grams per each, and it's more achievable from here. And oh, I have some jerry cans here. I had one of the raft. It's called the swimming raft, but I've just removed it from water. Sometimes I come here and I get much hotness. And whenever I want to cool my body, I subject it here, then I shower, or I just swim with the raft, and it's more possible. But by now, it's now done, because I have during that time I had not done fertilization, but now I have done fertilization, and everything is so much. So everything gonna be very secure. There's no fish here right now, guys, and I'm eyeing forward. Hey, we have some ropes here. I don't know. Oh, this is for kicking some they are called monkeys. So you put here a stone. Look at this position. You put here a stone. Look at here, and it looks like a, then you turn it, you spin it, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Then you throw it, it goes very far. So whenever you hear the monkeys hear that sound, they just rush. They think it's maybe a bullet has been thrown to them. So that's how to scare the monkeys with this kind of a rope. It's an it's called a traditional mean of chasing some predators, not to attack much of your crops onto the farm. And also it was used to scare even the wild animals, because some years ago they were coming to even the villages. They were breaking from the parks or the zoo. Then they could just subject them to people's properties. So they could just use such kind of the manual ropes and put a stone there. Then you throw it. You just turn it very speed. Make sure that it's very speed. Then you throw it. I think much of the people have ever seen it, and it's much being used until to date, because we have much of such kind of the monkeys are bringing harm to us. And guys, that's how things are running onto this position. But you can now see it has been sealed, but it needs much of attention here. We need much of the soil to be put, so as we cannot have much the leakage. And also guys, I don't depend on coming in water, which is an inlet. I don't depend on inlet, or I have only this water, as you can just see it here. It is dependent, so it's coming from inside, and it's just inside here. All the ponds, I don't have inlets. They have their own drainage system of water that's bringing inside water. And to this position, guys, you can now see what is looking like red. That is ions. And whenever you see that your area has such kind of the ions, you cannot rear such kind of the fish in such kind of water, because it has much of the ions. That one can ever kill the fish. So guys, I'm coming to an end of this video from this position, and I really appreciate you and say kudos to you, everyone who is watching and has been a support to Gintu, so as you can make things happen clearly outside here. And everything will be encountered, and everything will be subjected to you, irregardless of race, irregardless of tribe, irregardless of pocket money. And this is the end. Keep it in touch for the learning session part 2. Other things coming. All things are aligned up for you. and they are coming very systematic and more compassionate and more produced and shooted from me. It's _Ginto, back again.
Sorry is a word rude boys don't say. This a loving what we have come a long, long way.